That's a first I got. This is the first time I've been asked.
Today we're joined with Nick Chow. He had 11 years in the IT industry and pivoted and transitioned over to wedding photography. He's been doing this coming up to a decade and a half. Thank you, Nick Chow, for having me on the show. Please, I'd love to just really kind of dive into your story because IT makes a lot of money. Why did you exit out of IT to start taking wedding photography?
Oh, IT is not really making a lot of money if you're working for other people. And I'm not in a software engineering side, which tends to make a lot more than hardware. I was in a hardware and distribution. So therefore, it wasn't as lucrative as you would as software. I've got a lot of friends that work in software and they make very well a living. So anyways, it wasn't bad, but it's just something that when you work every day in a repetitive motion, it gets a little repetitive. And therefore, I kind of thought about, oh, maybe I should try something else. And a friend took a camera, and we went out for a few shoots, night shoots, day shoots, car shoots. And it's kind of got me thinking, oh, maybe I should try this. And it just so happened that there's a friend that called me and said, Nick, do you want to shoot a wedding? I'm like, I've never done a wedding. And I did, obviously, with that. And it was a disaster. It was horrible. It wasn't good at all. But it got me thinking. Oh, again, this is something very challenging, and I like challenges, and therefore I kind of jumped into it and started helping other photographers shoot and kind of learn the ladder into wedding photography.
Okay, so you were basically apprenticing a little bit because your friend got you into it. That's how you got started, and you did your first wedding, and it was a disaster. Did you get paid for that?
I forgot. I might have got a few $100s out of that.
Actually,
which
probably forget a little bit.
Maybe. I couldn't remember, but that's about 13 years ago.
13 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. And so you thought it was challenging, but what made you stick with it? Obviously, it's a brand new skill. A lot of people, they see something new, they're like, oh, I like this, or they can make a lot of money in this, and they do it, and they're like, too hard, not for me. But what made you kept going with it?
You'd be surprised, but I don't actually know a lot of photographers that makes a lot of money. I think it's an interest. It's something that is a very quick reflective of what your creativity is. Most of the jobs that you do, you might not get that appreciation, that immediate gratification from what you have created or done. Say if you've done a big project. When you're done, your boss might come to you and say, hey, good job, right? And give you a raise. Sure. But every time when I finish a photo shoot, almost every time, I see the customer's face when they see their product. I see whether it's good or bad, right? Most of them good. They're very appreciative because it is creating something that they won't necessarily be able to do on their own. And the eyes that we create, the eyes that we bring, the angles that we bring, the experience that we bring, it is essentially different. And most of our couples are not models, and therefore when they see themselves looking very nice, they appreciate it more. But anyways, so the whole story is that I get more appreciation. I get to have myself confidence because I wasn't very confident about myself. So that kind of gave me a big boost in why I wanted to do this.
What about you were you not confident in? Was it self-image? Was it you just felt like you weren't good enough in general or just not good in wedding? Like, where did that lack of self-confidence come from? Because a lot of people in our generation really lack self-confidence in general. They're like, oh, I'm not good enough for mom, and dad's like, oh, you should quit doing this. Funny enough, did your parents say you should quit doing wedding photography? Like, why'd you quit IT? That's probably a lot of conversation a lot of Asians have. Like, it's real.
My parents are very nice. They didn't really pressure me into doing anything else. There are certain relatives that would point fingers and said, you know what, this other cousin of yours, this other relatives is an engineer, is a doctor, is a medical field. It's a very different. It's a lot of high pressure. It's just like any Asian family, I would, or most of them. Mm-hmm. And my parents were awesome. They really didn't pressure me into anything. However, that actually created a more of a suction cup for me where I'm going. I kind of develop. I'm not too sure, but I've never been diagnosed. But it kind of feels like the imposter syndrome, where I'm never good enough for myself or for other people.
Huh.
But that's a positive thing to me. I don't know, maybe I don't have it, but I never feel I'm satisfying myself enough. I always want to keep improving. So even if I shot something that's great, I feel like it's great. 2 weeks after, I come back to it and say, I could have done that better. right? I think most of the photographers that we see, they excel in certain in certain areas, have that same drive, and I'm sure you do, and you do, right? You do this channel because you know I want to do better, right? Look at your first video that you've generated. Look at the first interview that you've done. It might have been very different, right? And now you're very successful because that's experience, and you want to do it better. Because if not, then why would you have this setting? You have great lights, you have great interviewees, right? You have great topics, you network, and you have so many followers. Like, you keep on improving. I think that's one of the things why it kind of kept me going, is because the followers, the people that really want to see even more better work, is out there. We want to capture that.
So for you, it's more so a pursuit of mastery, what it sounds like. You're trying to get to that point. Obviously, it's very hard to be like, oh, I've mastered it. I don't think you ever get there because everything's always changing. So for you, what would be your next goal? Obviously, you've shown me your portfolio before. Nick has done over 2,000.
1,000.
1,000. Over 1,000 weddings. And he's been flown out all over the world. He's been flown out to Europe,
Hawaii,
Santorini, everywhere. So he's been flown out. So please walk me through it. Like, how do you get these gigs, like, where people are willing to fly you out, since they're paying for all your flights and accommodation, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting because 90% of my couples are word of mouth. And it's rarely, but obviously with this, the post-pandemic, it is a little bit trickier because I think most couples do look into Instagram. Now there's a good side and a bad side, because we always put our best work in Instagram, and you don't see the negative side of what's in the back. But your question was, going back to how did it get these gigs, is I think once you immerse yourself into destination wedding, you put your logo there, you put your SEO there, you put your marketing into a destination, people will come and they see the work that are different. Now, however, styles are different too, because there's a lot of photographers doing the same thing, and they do very well. There's a lot of different styles. I have a particular style, other photographers is different. So when you are, or whoever is shopping for these photographers, they should really find something that they really love. And once you do, then check out their portfolio, the other portfolios, because going to a destination is not as easy as shooting local, right? We can shoot anywhere in Vancouver with our eyes closed, and says, yep, that's not a problem. It's easy. We know where exactly the sunset goes. We know where the rocks are. We know where the traffic, we know where cut on that. But anyways, so shooting in Vancouver, we can shoot that eyes closed.
It's familiar. You know what you're doing. You've done it thousands of times already.
Yeah, but when you're at a location that you're unfamiliar with, let's say Japan, right? Then you have to research, well, where is this couple going to? And where is it available for shoot? What are the traditions? What are the things that we should do and should not do? So there's cultural, there's locations, there's the styles, there's the timing, there's the, is it going to be a springtime where the sun's setting earlier, and which direction are we going? Is the traffic good? Does people allow you to shoot there? A lot of questions, a lot of IG research, a lot of Pinterest research, a lot of location research, right? So it's not just, oh, we're going to go shoot, right? In Vancouver, we drive and we start knowing where to go, right? So it is very fun. At the same time, it might be very stressful, but we take that stress away from you because we love doing that research too. Just like when you travel. Some people love doing research, and some people love to sit back.
You're just learning. You're like, oh, I never knew that.
Yeah. So it's really fun.
But I wanted to touch onto something, because you did say there's always the bad side, and I want to dive a little bit into it. Obviously, wedding photography is all about the glamour, the glitz. It's their day. But what about the not so pretty side? What would you like people to know, like, oh, this is not as pretty as it seems?
So there are, just like any jobs or any businesses, the time to ramp yourself up to, if you're wanting to be a photographer, a wedding photographer, the time that you have to invest in is ginormous. It's long hours, because there's so much things that are keeping on improving. There's so many areas that there's no official course, and there's so many things to read on YouTube or just on website or blogs that are, is it relevant to me, right? You might want to try it, but is it relevant? Is it certain things that you like? And you have to develop your own style. There is the time spent, the investment spent. The more you spend on the equipment, the better your product is supposed to be. But that might not be the case. how you use it, the scenario, the lighting, because Vancouver is a very tough to shoot place, especially when it comes to weddings. Most of the time, you would have your ceremony in the evening or daytime, or sorry, just times are random. But usually you don't pick the time when you get the best lighting. That's when we have the engagement shoots, right? And then when you go indoor, you need to learn how to use lights as well. Some photographers don't need that either, right? So it's, again, very, very different into different ways. So that's a struggle into learning. The other side is post-production. How to edit a photo to the style that you want. That's also a very big trouble, big learning process, because how do you define a style? Are you changing it after the first couple weddings? Are you keeping that same style? Are people really happy about the style that you're getting? And are you really happy about the style that you're shooting and editing? Because it might not be the style that you want, but you're ultimately getting customer because of that style. So you have to distinguish between that.
Okay, so it sounds like the learning curve is quite immense, trying to figure out what you want to do, what style, and also the post-production. Obviously, there's a bunch of software. There's a bunch of things you can dive into. I would say for a beginner starting off, what is just the bare necessity to be like, all right, I can start doing, could a phone work? Do you need to get a Canon? Do you need to get a DSLR camera? You know, where would you recommend people to start?
I'd say if you are if you're really wanting to get into weddings, get a camera that you're very familiar with, whether that be a DSLR, whether that be a mirrorless, or even an iPhone, is to get that moment. Because having everything uncontrolled, you have a schedule, but everything goes in a flow. So when you're there to capture the right moment, those photos are priceless. But if you're there and you can't catch the moment, no matter what gear you have, it's a waste.
Okay, that is definitely a big one, because I know a lot of people would always just struggle, even with me in the beginning of my journey with my YouTube and everything. Gear, you know, how do I get started, all that fun stuff, and you get stuck in, it's got to be perfect. But more often than not, just doing it will get you there because you gain more experience. In your journey as a wedding photographer, what are some of the things that you wish you knew in the beginning, which would have saved you time, money, and effort?
That is one of the best questions I've had in different interviews, and you nailed it. This is, if I were to have somebody actually guide me through how to deal with couples, how to deal with and face the challenges of the landscape in this geographic area, that would help me a lot, because I'm going back to the first thing that I said is to have somebody coach you through dealing with customer or couple. First thing is, if people were to be able to provide posing guide, because posing is one of the biggest challenge that we have. Because if you even have a posing guide, it might not work for couples. Some couple have different size, height, way that they may not be able to move in a certain way. I have had couples that are handicapped, and they can't move, but they know that as well. So that's where you have to think of different way to put their photos together so that it looks the best. And also, how do you make a couple feel comfortable, super comfortable with you? Because if they're not comfortable, then it's really tough to capture their smile, if that's what they want. If they want a posy, magazine GQ look, then maybe it is something that you have to teach them, or they're already good at it. So we have had some Instagram models that we've worked with, and they are natural. You go on the shot, and they are just ready for you, right? But not everyone is that way, right? So if you wanted to have some candid moments, people are like, oh, Nick, we've seen a lot of photos that people are laughing and they're tearing up, they're chatty, they're happy. How do you do that? And that's where it gets tricky, because half of the time when you see a photo like that, it's fake. For example, I can be a couple with you, and I'd say, John, give me a smile now that we're chatting. A smile, instead of smiling, laugh. So let's do that, all right? So let's laugh. But looking at me, okay, right? So that's picture perfect, right? But it's fake. It's not natural. But if I were to be able to know how to guide that, I get to my product easier. I get to those shots easier. It saves them time, my time. I get more shots. So in the end of the day, is you want a portfolio that resembles what you are comfortable with. If somebody shows you that, I'd be a lot happier because I have to figure that out the hard way sometimes. The second thing is, I guess, what was the second thing I talked about?
Hey, it's John here. If you like this type of content, make sure you like and subscribe. I will put all of Nick's social media handles down in the description down below. And if you want to be part of the show, shoot me an email. Let's see what happens. Anyways, let's get back to the show.
I forgot what my second thing is.
Time, money, effort.
I think somebody mentored me through
Poses.
poses, yeah. Poses is.
Poses.
Poses is a very big thing.
Working with a couple
Yeah,
expectations.
Yeah, expectations? No, you kind of build that with the customer because they kind of know what you're delivering. Technical, I'm lucky because I have an IT background, so hardware-wise, I know what to get, how to put the storage together, how to run our hard drives, how to run our backup, and how many equipments do we need to bring, how many cameras do we need to bring, making sure we don't lose any data, or as best as we can. I guess this industry is the best if somebody were to lead you and really give you their 100% and show you all the ropes into how to run it. But a lot of times you don't. All right, it's hard to actually learn everything. You have the shooting side and you have the business side. How do you run a business successfully? That's a very open-ended question, right? But let's say if you're talking about just how to shoot well, that's already a deep well that you can immerse in it for years and years and find your own style.
Have you seen people where technically from a wedding photography skill, they're not the best, but on the business side of things, they're phenomenal? Do you see a lot of that industry or not really? Really?
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of photographers who are, in my standard, not as creative. Again, it might not be what they're looking for. It ultimately comes down to what client they're looking for, right? They might have thousands of customers a year, and they have so many photographers that shoots for them because it comes to the system, and they make good money because of that. But that's their goal, right? For boutique photographers like us, we have maybe myself, another photographer, maybe a third photographer. We are lucky, and we go shoot the way that we love. Right? And it's very customized. It's not formulated. Let's say if we have a package for a customer, right? You would come in and say, hey, Nick, or I would say, John, you're the photographer. I'd say, hey, what package do you have? Package A, B, and C. A brings you to Stanley Park. B brings you to White Cliff Park. C brings you to Public Library. Right? And if you're picking and say, oh, I'll pick one of these, then you have a standardized system. You know exactly what to shoot and what to deliver because you're showing samples of that. When you come to Soul Wedding, and Nick Chow, I go, you know what? What are you interested in? Are you looking for yourself being a candid shot? Are you looking for a more stylish shot? Are you looking for nature? Are you looking for urban? Are you looking for destination? Are you looking for grand? Are you looking for things that are not normal? Because some couples who go, you know what? This is a once in a lifetime thing. Right? I want to shoot something that's going to be, I want to be in something that's I would never be in. I want to be in a big dress. I want to be on a horse. I want to be on a mountain. I want to be on a helicopter. So they have that imagination. We try to cater to that as much as possible. And that's what the boutique studios are for, right? If you would like to package A, B, and C, different customers, right? And so all the photos that you see on our website essentially are very different between every couple, right? Because from location to outfit, to style, to how we shoot them is all different.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Oof. Like, I can only imagine the amount of time, the amount of effort, the trials and tribulations that you had to go through to get to the point where you have a system, relatively a system that works well for you. But here's the thing. I know you talked about in the beginning, you wish you had someone, walk you through how to do this. Outside of just going on YouTube, where do you find people who are willing to take you on, give them 100% and teach you? Because obviously you probably have the issue where you teach, bring on photographers onto your team and you have like a head photographer, and then after a while they get so good, they go on and start their own thing. Like, wow, where do you go to find people like that? I mean, there's someone right here, but I think he's getting a little bit tired of having to teach new people every 3-4 years.
It's challenging, and it's sort of, I think every industry has that same kind of pitfall is because of that revolving door. I was lucky because every 3 or 4 years I get really good photographers to stay with me. But there are essentially the question is, how do you find
Like a mentor, essentially.
mentors?
Because through you,
Yeah.
you know, people worked with you and you basically mentored them, essentially, is what you did.
Yes.
You kind of paid them, though.
Yes.
But you essentially taught them everything and mentored them, and they got good enough to the point where they could branch out and do their own thing, right?
We use each other, right? So I always tell my my apprentices who becomes a photographer and saying that, you know what, I don't need you right now, which is in the beginning, and it's true. I don't need you, and you don't need me, right? But when that relationship becomes more balanced, I need you to shoot for me for these couples, and therefore there's compensation, or more compensation in that way. You still have to pay a guy, right? But when you ask how many of these mentors out there, I think there's a lot. There's a lot of photographers who's willing to teach. And there's a difference between learning online versus learning in person, because the struggles that you see on in a wedding shoot, or not even a wedding shoot, just an engagement shoot. You go out and you shoot, all those challenges comes alive, right? And if you're really taking a real customer, or not your friend that says, oh, you know what, I'll shoot for you. I'll shoot for you, and they'll just pose for you. The challenge level is different. There's no pressure. There's less pressure, not no pressure. But, once you're picking up a real customer, then that pressure is real. And those reality comes true, right? Just like, I guess, any other profession. So I think just reaching out to photographers that you feel like, I like your style. Can you mentor me? I think most of the time they would say yes. But it's how much time you can put in for them too, because they would need to put up their time to train, to show you the ropes. They don't take that lightly because they have their busy life as well, right? They have to edit every night. They have to shoot. They have to find their business. They might have families to take care of. So if they are willing to extend that help, treasure that. That's what my suggestion is.
With the amount of time that you put what would a day-to-day look like for someone who's just doing wedding photography, and let's just say they're independent? Let's just say a day-to-day, in terms of like an hour breakdown, what would that look like ideally? Like how much time percentage-wise should you spend on taking the photos, then the editing? Like there's a lot of steps to it. Just kind of walk me through the steps of you have the customer to the end. How does that kind of look like? At least for you, I'd say.
Good question. The timing, however, if you're in the office or you're working from home office, there's a large chunk of that is to update your portfolio. Your web presence, your social media, your website. That's a lot of time.
Let's factor that out.
yeah,
Let's just say let's put that aside. Let's just say customer wants to get their weddings photos done. They're like, hey, Nick Chow, I'd like to work with you. And from then on out, time. How much time would it take roughly?
So we take a good few hours to identify the wedding expectations and also engagement shoot for expectations.
Oh, so just like a few hours just talking, getting the expectations right.
Yes, because the education is important, the communication is important, the building chemistry is important. Then you would find about 2 hours to shoot their engagement. 1 to 2 hours, because we're more familiar with locations, we can do it for about an hour and a half. But traveling is time, and you consult also about the outfits. You talk about makeup. You talk about we need the couples to have makeup.
You talk to them about that.
Oh,
You don't let them just do their own thing. You talk to them about that.
Well, talk to them about them because they might not be finding a right feel for themselves, right? What if we're going to a farm and they're dressing as different? I would say there's a certain consultation that is really helpful.
Okay.
If they do not need it or require it, we're fine, but it's always recommended. So therefore, you would want to have a photographer sit down with you virtually or in person to talk about what your expectation is. And then after that, before the wedding, there's more meetings to talk about the wedding day itinerary. What are we expecting throughout the whole day? What are you expecting the whole day? Are we doing first dance? Are we doing cake cutting? During the first dance, what kind of song is it? How long is it? Are you dancing with your dad? Are you dancing with your mother? Are you dancing with just each other? And is it choreographed? Is it easy? Is it short? Is it fast? All these questions comes out before the wedding, right? And even in the morning, do we talk about which location are we in? What kind of style are we in? Are you in a Airbnb? Are you in a hotel, right? Every single little details needs to be ironed out. So as a photographer, I get what I I can walk into shoot anything, but it's better that we know what we're shooting.
Why is the preparation so important? Because obviously having a level of preparation is important, but the things that you listed are the very finer points of things. Like, for example, when you said, what type of song is it? Like, why does that matter? Is it for you to make sure you know what angle to take? Is it for you to just know the timing? Like, why do you need to go so into detail, for example, for something like that?
So say if you wanted to have a grand shot. Now again, you might be working with other people as well. Say you have a videographer, right? A videographer might be right in your way of maybe doing a 360 or going in front of you. So you need to budget your time to get all the shots you want to get. Say, usually for first dance, I get a wide shot. So it gets all the some of the audience, maybe some of the display, maybe a chandelier that's on top of them. And then I need to get close-ups, right? But if they have a short song, I'm going to have to go a lot faster, setting up a light a lot faster, right? I might get less photo, but I need to sacrifice that. However, if I get a whole 1 minute song and they're going for a slow dance, then I can take my time walking around, getting the right angle. So it gives me more patience and preparation, just like doing any other photo shoot.
Okay, so for you, it's just understanding what you need to do for your own game plan. As once you know what you're working with, because if you go in, you don't know what you're working with. So you really want to know everything to the as much detail
As much as possible.
to be able to alleviate any potential coin flips that you won't be ready for.
And they're always coin flips.
Always?
Always coin
So
flips.
nothing ever goes according to plan, is what you're telling me.
Almost never. There are some amazing planners and amazing days where they're really to the dot and everything's just very smooth. Those are hard to come by, but they are available.
I know.
But most of them is you would have cases where, they would suddenly have a dance, or suddenly they would change and no dance. Sometimes we do something that's a little bit different. We always ask for a sunset photo shoot, if possible. That is
photo shoot.
Sunset photo shoot, and that also depends on what year what season you're in. Sunset, because now usually if you get married in the early afternoon, the sun is really high and really strong, and that casts a really heavy shadow. So we got to pick places that has some shadow. If it's in the urban, it's great because it's really artistic. We can have clear, defined shadow and light photos. Black and white looks amazing with those ones as well, and more creative. However, we might not have enough photos to go with the way that we want to shoot. Nice, gentle, soft lights. Right now, we have soft lights. But also another thing is people love sunset photos. We are really popular with that. So there are some locations, like say golf course, right? We would really like to tell a couple, okay, try and give us about 10 minutes. We can take you out and we shoot sunset photos. And they're usually pretty dramatic, right? Sunset's not easy to come by, but sometimes when you're in the springtime, sunset's at 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? And then if you're summer, sunset's at 10 o'clock. So you're gonna have to adjust that a little bit. But that's what we usually try and get. That's something you cannot control either, right? So there's always surprises and there's always things that could happen. So someone might stand up and start talking about giving a speech, and she might tear up, or the bride might tear up, or even the groom might tear up, right? You got to catch those moments. Or maybe an auntie or a parents might be tearing up or laughing hysterically, and we got to capture those. Those are what you want to capture, right? At least for us.
I would say, of all your years, what has been the one wedding or the one shoot that you did that really stuck out to you? Could be good, could be bad. The one wedding that really stuck out to you, you're like, I gotta tell this story to people that you can share. Let's go with that.
I think it is on one of the weddings where I've known this bride and groom for a good time, a good few years. We did the engagement shoot, and I shot a couple of their friends. And I think the most memorable one was I went through the whole day with them. It was like a 14-hour day. And the end,
14-hour days.
oh yeah, 14 hours is generally,
Is that normal or is that just you?
that's normal. That's we do a lot of we capture a lot of South Asian, and Canadian-born
CBC.
CBC, CBA, CB, just Canadian-born, but they have different I guess dialect with their parents kind of thing. We do a lot of that. But anyways, most of their weddings are 10 to 15 hours. And it's a long day. And the bride came to me at the end of the day and just start crying and says, Nick, this has been just such a happy day for me because you're here. And I said, you said that already in the speech. But she said, no, I really, really appreciate you being here because without you, I'm not as confident in myself. And I'm just so happy that you're here to capture my most important day. And that was very tearing for her and for me because in the beginning of the day, she already said, is Nick here? I remember it was one of the golf courses and she was panicking. I got there and I said, hey bride, I'm here. Hey, that's good, right? And she kind of felt calm and she says, hey, Nick's here. So we talked a little bit. I calmed her down a little bit because she's anxious, and the whole rest of the day was very beautiful. And by the end of the day, I get that message from her, heartfelt message. I just felt like this is why I want to do this for a living, right? You don't get that from any other jobs, and that's why I love what I do.
Now, the most important question is, are they still together?
I think I lost touch. I forgot. I think it's just because you do so many weddings in a year. Then I have my family to take care of, and we have so many commercial shoots happening. It's just you have so little of the time, and I haven't even talked to my brother. I love my brother. It's just we don't even talk anymore because we just don't have time, and time is such a precious thing nowadays for us.
That is fair, because you talk about time and you are very, very busy. Obviously, wedding photography, you do take a lot of time in it. But how do you track everything? Like, what are some tips and tricks that you've done to be able to just make your life a little bit easier because you're so busy?
I guess busy is how many weddings you take, how many shoot you want to take, and how many projects you come in. One of the biggest challenge that I have now, even now, is how much edits I have on my list, on my queue. Edits.
Post-production.
Yeah. So imagine you have 2 cameras and you might have a second shooter with 2 more cameras.
Oh.
Right. And you would shoot, let's say, a 10-hour day.
That's 30 hours worth of footage.
That's, not just footage, but photos and footage. And you go through all your photos. And not only that, you have to pick the photos that you are feeling, oh, this is the photo. It takes a lot more hours than just your 30-hour that you see in your cameras. Right? So just imagine how much time that needs. After that, you have to put that into a good story. You have to separate them between what we call highlight and just general photos. Highlight is the best of the day. It tells the story. And you've got to edit those ones to the way that you feel the best. And again, because we have outdoor, indoor, backlit, front lit, lighting is very different. The way they edit is also very different. So one edit could take us about a month just to edit. And then you need a QC, you need to pick photos, you need to process, you need to export, you need to put it in an album. It takes a couple months sometimes, right? Nowadays, it's a little easier. We have trained a few more editors that helps us on the general edits. We do our own highlights, but there are certain people who can help us with the complete edits, like the rest of the edits, right? It's just the prime stuff. We want to touch it ourselves, right? But then again, when we have those weddings, then we can't edit enough of the commercial, which the commercial sometimes, most of the time actually, commercial takes precedent because they are a 7 days delivery. But weddings, we usually say 2 to 3 months. So that stack of queue right now is it's just a huge list. And how you manage this list versus how many hard drives you have, because it's a stack of hard drives, SSDs, hard drives, NAS, online storage, all that you need to manage them properly, because the first thing you come back out of their shoot, just like right now, we need 2 backups. We ourselves need 2 backups right away. So that first storage goes into a hard drive. We call it an active drive. Second, we need a backup drive. And then third, for security, we put it onto the cloud. So there's 3 copies. And that's just for the raw, not even the edits. Then we take the active drive and we start editing. Right? But then after you finish, you have to back up to every single little thing. And we have to do another area where we need to deliver. So it's a long process, but for safety and security, we need to have that.
So for one raw photo, it could get thrown 9 places is what you're telling
yeah.
me.
Oh, yeah.
Up to 9. Wow, that is so much. I could only imagine the amount of workflow. Actually, how many clients do you have right now? How many edits do you have right now at this time? Ballpark, just
20 edits I need to do. Yeah, I need to go and edit, by the way.
Oh my goodness. Oh, actually, speaking of editing though, AI. Obviously, AI is starting to come into place. AI has made leaps and bounds, especially for video editing. You could literally just, if you had the setup for, say, podcasts, camera, throw your thing, AI will boop, 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 do all the shots for you. Well, that's like a podcast, right?
Yeah.
But for photos, that's very different. Can AI actually even help at this point or not at all?
We've tried a few AIs. AI is good if you have a standard delivery because AI is still learning. So I haven't got to that point yet, but I've known some photographers who got to that point where they have actually been able to use AI to edit a full wedding. And it takes time for you to educate an AI to mimic the model that you shoot and you edit. Now, remember when I said about the edits, it's 2 processes. First, you have to pick the right photos, and second, you have to edit the right photos, right? So picking the photo is a very big challenge because an AI is hard to tell whether you want to have a photo that is eyes closed or eyes open, right? Because it's very personal. You might have an eyes open shot, but her expression might not be as good. You might want to say, oh, I want a close eye, but then it looks beautiful. So which AI is not going to be able to tell you that. So you have to calibrate that AI to say, okay, if there's a choice, then this is what you pick. So that's why we still pick the highlights, the best of the day. And the rest, we can let AI choose, or editors to choose. And they can edit the way that, it's mimicking what we finish from the highlights. So it is doable. AI is getting there. We don't currently use AI because we just never had the chance to train it.
But so you're saying you have this AI ready to go, you just haven't trained it yet, or have really?
Yeah, it's ready.
Did you make it? Did
No.
you buy it?
No, we had to subscribe to it.
Subscribe to it.
Just like ChatGPT, right?
Can I ask you what AI it is?
It's called Aftershoot. We'll try Aftershoot.
Aftershoot.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know how long Aftershoot's been around for? It's pretty new, right?
4 years, I think. We've actually, when they first got launched, I already subscribed for the first year. I couldn't figure it out, and I just stopped. After a second year and the third year they came back and there's a founders package, and I tried it I didn't even try for the founders. I just tried another month. And I still couldn't figure it out because it takes time and I don't have that patience.
It's quite nuanced with the technology and everything.
Yeah, and now they're, I think, 4th or 5th year and they're doing pretty good. But I already lost that founder's right to it. Ooh. But I'm still paying for the full package. I'm still paying for subscription, but I just don't have enough time to train it. But it is available.
How do you train it?
So it learns, you upload a lot of your previous edited projects and it learns from those edits. Again, I haven't actually tried it yet. I only upload maybe 7 projects, but if I were to spend more time in it, I'm sure that it's going to help us more.
But when you say time, is it not as simple as just drag, drop, let it do its thing, or do you have to do more to it to train it?
We have I guess it is, I just have to find time to actually find the right project to put in. Because there's certain projects that you want to train it with, right? Just like IG, you want to only post the good stuff on IG, but there's certain edits that you do. Oh, it's okay, it's mediocre, but it's good, but it's not the best. You want to put the best out.
So you're really fine tuning it to make sure that the product you're getting isn't like 80%. You want it to be like 90, 95%. The way as close to 100% that you would like to get there.
Yes.
Which is why it takes so much time to find because you're already so busy.
Yeah.
How would you solve that problem though? Because it sounds like it could be, I don't know if it is a problem for you right now. Obviously you don't have time, but it sounds like AI would be very helpful. But how would you get to it if you're so busy with edits, running everything?
Well, we have winter.
Wait, does it actually get slower in winter?
It does. There's less weddings, and we don't take as much destination wedding or we don't take as much commercial, then yeah, we have our time to ourselves. But then you would probably want to spend time with the family and other things and other development, so which comes with the R&D. The other solution is you see these eye bags, you just don't sleep. You just keep working.
Don't sleep. When you talk about family, obviously you're very busy. Has it been challenging with like family being able to spend time with them? Like how is someone like you who's so busy able to find the time to spend with them? And do you feel like it's not enough? Because you said that, imposter syndrome, never feeling like you're good enough. Do you feel like sometimes you're not a good enough family man?
I do. You nailed it again. It's I admit, because the last 10 years to develop So Wedding has been every weekends, because weddings is every weekend. It's all Saturday and Sundays.
That's the peak time.
Yeah, and that's when your kids are free. That's when your family might be more free, because my wife works 9 to 5 on a weekday. All right, so when you don't have enough time for them, you kind of feel not as comfortable right now to say, but yes, but my wife has been amazing, because she's such a good supporter. We have had a lot of fights about our timing, because I'm never home, and when she gets sick, even when she was in the hospital, I wasn't there because I was shooting a wedding. So it's immensely, you need to have someone that really supports you into doing this. Without that, it's really impossible for getting to achieving what I want. Obviously, everyone's different, right? Every photographer may be different. Some of them might have a even better support, or they just don't need that support maybe. I don't know, but it's not something for me to judge. But for my situation is, I'm very lucky to have my wife supporting me all these years, and she's still supporting me through this. So,
how long have you been married for?
13 years, 14 coming.
That's almost the same amount of time since you've been a wedding photographer.
Yeah, this is a funny thing when you bring it up. I actually got married. I looked at my photographer and I said, you know what, maybe I can try that, and I did. That's right after, and I said, yeah, I'm done with IT. It's a life-changing thing. Getting married might change your profession.
wait. Because you told me it was like a friend asked you to come out and take some photos with you at night.
It all happened about the same time.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think before I got married, I'm already shooting 1 or 2 weddings, but you would not think about using that as your main career, right? And I'm still working, right? And it's a very bold move that you would just change career.
So you cold dropped IT, went like, I'm done, and just all in wedding photography? Or you're still kind of working in IT, making some money, and still doing wedding photography?
Think both, kind of. Yeah, I couldn't remember back then. It was too long ago. But I think my mind has already left what I was doing. It's a mechanical, automated system yourself that you keep on working on what you need to do. But there's a point where you go, okay, you know what? It's good. There's changes to it.
No, that's fair. So it sounds like you were able to really transition. It's really interesting that, because we're 13 years married, 13 years in wedding photography. Would you say, having dealt with so many wedding photographies, that you yourself would be an excellent relationship coach?
Oh, no.
Really?
Oh, no. I can teach you how to be a good wedding photographer, but relationship-wise, it's because we only see the side that is the prettiest. The most intimate, the most happiest, that's why this job is great. Most wedding, or almost every wedding, is a joyful wedding. It's a joyful event. It's a party. And it kind of gives that adrenaline for yourself that you're like, this world is positive, 100%. When you go home, you're like, edits. But you look forward to the next wedding. And that kind of keeps you going and going, and it's always happy.
Has there been, obviously with weddings, it's the highlights, right? But for you personally, has there been a very low moment in your career when wedding photography where you had to overcome something, or something that really happened that really put a roadblock in your way?
I wouldn't say photography itself is, but the wedding business itself is.
What do you mean by that?
So the most obvious was COVID, but before that, it is also the same issue where you would have a shift in, say, photography team, your own team. Let's say you would go, oh, I'm missing 2 or 3 photographers or videographers, or just, again, staff issues, labor problem, right? And you have a chunk of wedding that's coming in. I've been very lucky, even though I have had photographers come in and out, come in and leave, they leave at very good time. They actually are mutually respectful, and they would leave, let's say, in the end of a season.
Slow season.
Yeah, so it gives me enough time to train new people, right? And I think that's where the struggle is because when you've tried to train so many people, and you know at the end of the day, they're not going to be with you permanently. Like, it's not a career for a lot of people. It's struggle to give your 100% and train.
Because you know they're gonna revolving door.
Yeah, but again, like I said in the beginning, is I think most industry has that issue, right? But I'm happy to see that my photographers and videographers has their own career and has their own businesses that they're striving, and that's what makes me feel, oh, at least I did some good.
Legacy, you left something and passed it on.
Yes, it's this is a very fun career, and if you have the stomach for that, and you like travel, you like to have that stress of a wedding bride. Some brides could be a handful. Some of them would be
Bridezilla?
Yeah, some of them groomzilla too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? That I've ever really heard before. It's always bridezilla.
There are some, but they are on the wedding day because they're high stress, high tense.
Oh,
it does happen.
That's fair.
Right? But after that, everything is fine. They are back to their normal self, and you see how great of a person they are. And it's just fun seeing all those changes up and down.
It's funny because I literally did a wedding yesterday. I was catering for one. So, yeah, I was helping catering. Fun stuff. Things up and down, timing, the schedule. We're 30 minutes late. Not because of us. The food's fine. We were on time. They just wanted to talk for a while and speeches and everything, so it wasn't on us. But, I totally get it. But obviously you talked about the struggle of COVID. That must have been big. And some people adapted with micro weddings. How did your industry adapt to when COVID hit? Because no one was really getting married at that time.
Mm-hmm. That period was a pretty crazy period because all the weddings are canceled. Not until after a year they allowed 50 guests. That was also a struggle because the policy and the guideline was not straightened out. It was still, there's certain black and whites. There's certain area that the locations may be open air maybe open location. There's certain location that doesn't want to even try coming back. So there's a lot of struggles. However, 2020 was our COVID year. Mm-hmm. 2021 was a comeback, like a slowly kind of
slow reopen.
And 2022 was the busiest in our 13 career.
Everyone was ready to get married.
Yeah, and they all kept pushing that year. So it essentially didn't really financially hit us too bad, but it kind of hammered us into a really
crunch
busy
time.
Yeah, and then 2023 was like meh.
Oh, so it died because everyone got married, and then it was like no one needed to get married again.
Yeah, 2024 is also a very easy year for me. That's why I can do this with you right now. I think it's about 50% of the weddings that we used to get.
Wait, 50% like on average, or 50% compared to after COVID 2023?
After COVID 2023, I think. Yeah, so it keeps on sliding. Different factors, because we haven't lowered our prices to be more competitive. There's a lot of new photographers out there. There's a lot of new vendors out there. But we have a word of mouth, and we uphold our quality of work and also the work devoted to it. But people don't usually see that sometimes. So cautious for new brides and grooms is to really connect to your photographer and get the experience that they can give you. If that's not what you're looking at, it's okay, because there's photographers who have experience. There are photographers who have really good art. Again, different expectations. But yeah, we have had a lot less wedding this year. And I think I was talking with a lot of industry friends during their experience, the same thing. So essentially, we wanted to say, I think there's a comeback. It's about to happen, but the nature may be different, or the spending amount may be different. Because I realize there's a lot more people are more financially educated, so they want to spend more money on things that have a bigger return. Wedding it's a party. So I don't think you get a lot of return from that, except
it's great marketing. People have done a good job marketing weddings.
Yeah,
Speaking of money, obviously, anything the moment you slap on wedding, it gets marked up by a percentage. Anything wedding related is a more very emotional buy, you would say. But when it comes to like money, obviously, when you're first starting off, if let's just say, for example, for me,
Yeah.
my best wedding photography is my phone. I have a camera, a Canon 80D with like a couple lenses, don't even know what they are. Someone like me, starting off, I'm guessing I'm not charging anyone. I'd have to basically do volunteer work because my portfolio would be complete doo-doo feces.
Yeah, that's right. If you wanted to really try, just try, like I said, you have a 90D or 80D. 80D. Okay.
80D, yeah.
Just use that and shoot because you need to get familiar with where you're positioning. For example, one of the biggest challenges I've had before is when the bride comes out. How do you use that camera to actively search? Because back then, AI Servo, which is Canon's AI seeking focus, is not as strong, right? So you have to focus when she walks. So you maybe get like for me it'd be 1 or 2 photos as she marches out down the aisle, right? But nowadays it's a lot easier. If you were to get one of these mirrorless, all you have to do is hold on to this button, put it on her face, you keep on shooting, it'll get you all 100% nice, sharp, amazing photos.
Okay, how much is that body and what's the lens and how much is that
I
lens? And
use
is this
an
what you use for,
R5.
is this actually what you use for weddings?
Yeah, this is what I go for. So R5 is a I think $4,000 camera.
$4,000
yeah.
camera. Okay, that's just the body, right?
Yeah, and I normally, before this lens came out from Canon, which is a 28-70, I think this is about 3,800. I use a 51.2. 51.2 is I think about $3,000, and this is the lens that I would suggest anybody that goes into weddings.
Did you just say 3,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is one camera and one lens that you want to have in your arsenal.
And this is more, not budget, but would you say this is mid-tier, premium, high-tier premium, as crazy as you get? Like, what would you say this camera ranks in terms
I think
of? Like,
everyone has one.
wait. What do you mean everyone has one?
Every photographer that I know has at least some sort of a 50 mm 1.2, and then a full frame fast enough camera. So I would say if you were to start, spend about $5,000. That's maybe your entry budget, right? Your body's at least $2,000, and your lens, you would have 1 or 2 lenses. You know, $2,000 is normally a good decent lens, right? And then another $1,000 is for maybe a wide angle or maybe something different, or maybe a telephoto that's more close up, right? Because you need to have certain photos where the groom or bride is doing the speech. You want to be able to get a little bit close up shots, right? And then you want to have the wide shots where you see everybody, or a lot wider. So you need to kind of stage where you're delivering your story, right? Because you're telling a story essentially for the whole wedding day. So yeah, I'd say spend about $5,000 to $6,000 to begin with. Not just because it's a dollar value, but it's because you want to have a full frame camera and a fast enough lens so that your daytime and nighttime, which is indoor, you still get your high ISO, you still get your fast enough lens so it's not too dark. So that's where we start with.
Basically, you can capture the biggest range to be able to capture everything. With that being said, though, should you charge hourly or should you charge for the package? As like a wedding photographer, would you be like, all right, I'm going to charge by the X hour, or I'm going to charge you, this is the package deal for everything?
So I would start with, wedding starts with a package. We would start with 8 hours, 4 hours or 8 hours. Then you add additional hours to it. That's your question and answer.
And that's how you do it. So the package is the hours, basically.
Yes.
Okay, so editing, the time that you spend editing is also included in the price factor?
Yes.
So if you spend 4 hours editing, that's like 4 hours worth, and that's the package.
Yeah. So it's not too complicated for a couple to think about how much do I really have to spend, because we have, this is our tradition. We want to keep it very simple for our couples. The money you see on your bill, that's all you need, unless you have to add hours on the day off, or you have to add products, let's say a canvas or albums or printing, then you pay extra. Otherwise, it's one price, we walk away that one price. And even if I were to shoot extra at our discretion, you don't pay for that.
Okay, so you have it like very outlined. So you're like, this is the package, 4 hour, 8 hours, and based off of what package you pick, this is the amount of editing that's going to be, because you already know what it's going to be. So then you allocate, this is how much you're going to have to pay minimum, but this is the price, and you don't charge more if you go over. And so they have it all front loaded. When the customers do pay, do they pay in the beginning? Do you take all upfront, deposit? How do you do it?
So back to what you said, if I shoot extra at our discretion, we don't charge you. But if we come to you and say, hey, you know what, we're kind of done. Do you want to extend the hour? Then obviously you know what to do, because there are some weddings that does get extended, just like your wedding.
Yeah,
right?
get delayed.
It's not your fault, right? But there are some weddings that I get really hyped up and I keep on shooting, and I just go, you know what, I just want to stay here. It's fun. Wife doesn't like that, but you know. So your other question is, do we take deposit? We do. We actually take deposit first, and then before the wedding, we take the rest of the payment. So, yeah,
Before the wedding?
right before the wedding.
Why is that?
Because it's harder to chase after somebody after the fact, because either you would be going for a honeymoon, or there's certain things that could have happened. Again, could.
Okay,
I don't need those photos anymore.
It might not be one wedding now.
Different reasons, but for whatever reason, wedding vendors get all their payments, just like a restaurant, right before. Oh, well, no, hang on. Some restaurant and some golf course actually take the final payment, because there's different variations of combination. Maybe there's more people or less people, so they take it after. But photography,
photography is locked.
Yeah, we're doing it before.
Okay, that makes sense. And well, I guess you just take it not right before the wedding, but just prior to the wedding, you would get it all locked in. Everything is like all okayed, and you're paid in full. What is the turnaround? You said 2 to 3 months, and that's from just consultation 2 to 3 months, or
no? This is why if you're a professional photographer, you're basically a full year. Say right now I'm advertising for 2025, because your customers, your couples, they are looking for next year. They're not looking for this year. So you're advertising now. So if you get the first email now, that's about 2025, then you need to talk to them about engagement in, well, would it be summer, fall, winter, or spring? Because if they get married in the middle of the year, then you have up until spring to shoot their engagement. And you have to go through all that consultation and until their wedding day. After that, a couple more months for edit. So you basically have a whole year dealing with the couple. That's your time
to work with them and get through there. And you told me you take an hour and a half to 2 hours to just do the consultation.
Yes.
Is that the free consultation, or is that the paid consultation?
Oh, no. You get the free consultation,
which is like,
and then you get the real consultation, and then you get more follow-up. If couples have more questions, you got to answer them. And we have our WhatsApp also available for answering questions, so it's any time.
How long is your free consultation for usually, typically?
Free depends on normally an hour to 2 hours.
That's the free one?
Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a 15, 30-minute thing.
We have a lot of fun talking about weddings with couples. It gets interesting because we provide a lot of value for them. We want to build that chemistry. If we do build that chemistry, if we have that chemistry, if we don't, it'll be a short consultation, half an hour. See ya. Because if you like So Weddings work, then you want to know more about how they do it, what they're doing, what am I going to get out of it. If you're just a tire kicker, you want to know, I've heard of you guys, but I'm not sure, then that reflects on your conversation.
The questions they ask, that type of stuff.
So I would know that you're not ready, right? And I give you the real thing I would give you just so much information that you need, but not what you want, right? So when you're ready, I'll give you what you really want, right? So same conversation as you would walk into a car dealer. They would be able to sniff out whether you're ready for a car or not. If you're just there to see, I'd like to check out the rims. Well, you're not buying the car, so I'll just give you, this is how much it's going to cost, approximately, right? But if you're ready, you will walk in and say, I think I really want to pick up this car. How much is financing? They would know that you're ready to go for that. Then you can negotiate at that point, right? They'll give you more information and kind of give you the after services, warranty, care packages, all that, then because you're ready.
Obviously, you have different tiers of packages. You don't disclose how much it costs on your website, does it? Do you?
We do have a price list that we send out once
Okay.
we know that they are emailing us or they're contacting us and they have a date. So the criteria is you need to know whether the couple already has a date set, if they have a restaurant set, or if they are really a friend of a friend, or if they know who we are already. Some couple actually booked me 2 years ahead. They have no location. They said, Nick, I want you to be my photographer. I said, okay, great. You don't have a date yet, but I will keep you in mind. And they will call me back when they have a location, right? So that's where it kind of brings me to the same answer is, this is why we do this for a living. This is why we love doing this, because people appreciate you. And we appreciate our couples because it's a mutual respect with what we do.
How is there any sort of red flags when it comes to wedding photographers? Because obviously, wedding photography, you could charge an arm and a leg for it. What are, if I was the customer, asking for a consultation from you, like, what are some red flags you would be like, oh, if you saw this from like, this is what the wedding photographer is doing, don't go with them. Either price or I don't know if there's anything like that. Something that you'd be like, oh, if they do this, don't go with them. They're a bad wedding photographer or bad business or morals or ethics.
That's a first I got. This is the first time I've been asked.
Because here's the thing, like, we work in industry, right? We obviously have our industry secrets, and we can definitely fluff up a lot of stuff for people to be like, hey, I'm going to charge you $5,000 for this. But in reality, it's like maybe cost us like $100, nothing to us, right? But people are like, oh, so emotional. I'm ready to get this. I'm in, because weddings are a very emotional thing, and it can get quite predatory sometimes, right? Like, how can you distinguish that? It's so hard to see like authenticity and the value that you get from people.
So if you're looking for a beginner or entry level photographer, then you don't have a lot of expectation. Anything would be great because the pricing may be lower, it might be more available. There are red flags that I would see is from other customers who come to me and say, hey, I've got friends that has these problems. One, photographer never showed up. Second, their photos never get delivered, and they would chase after them after years of chasing. They still don't get their photos. Inexperience. Photos comes out to be very inexperienced.
Like high school 8th grader type thing.
Yeah, when they look at their photos, they're like, what the heck is this? Or they actually somebody else will show up in their place that they're not qualified for. So these things does happen in the industry because people do have a life. Maybe things happen to their life, right? So maybe they were in trouble and they had to find somebody to help. The good thing is if you wanted to find someone that, I think this generation of smart shopper, they know that how much you put in, how much you invest equals how much quality you get, generally speaking, right? So say if you were to shop with a company that's more reputable,
like yours,
like ours, we would have contingency plans. Let's say if I am booking a wedding day, I would not book anything more than what we can absorb, plus within one backup shooter. So that if, let's say, one of the person is down, we'd have an equal shooter that is equal. And if there are weddings that, maybe I couldn't show up, I would actually introduce a second photographer way ahead and introduce them and say, this is my backup. And also this is his work. And we're going to all sit together and talk about this and show you work. And maybe that person will come with me to shoot the engagement shoot. So it's more communicative. Hardware. Sometimes you would ask about how much hardware do you have? What kind of camera do you have? When you shoot, do you have 2 cards? For example, when I shoot always 2 cards. So if
2 cards?
2 cards, right? This has a CF Express and an SD card. So I shoot to both cards. And so when I say finish a wedding and then we go for a late night dinner, right? Most of the time, or 99% of the time, we tell everyone to grab their gear. But if you've seen how many cameras we have, it's sometimes pretty hard. So, but what happens is, no matter what, you grab that memory card and put it in your pocket. So if everything gets stolen and insurance covers it, your data is super important, right? And then you would have 2 cards. So if one of the card even fails during the day of, you just have a second card. That's just the policy, right? So some photographers may or may not have that, but data is super important to us. You can't do this again. So when it comes to editing, right, you would want to see a lot of their portfolio, and not just the stuff that you see on Instagram, not just you see on the website, but the back end of weddings. So how many weddings do you deliver? What kind of weddings, what other photos do you have? If you can ask for more than one portfolio, you can see how much do they edit. and contact on the person. Sometimes there has been issues where they don't show up, and I've heard that before, like where photographers just never showed up. But there are cases where photographers would call in last minute, like the day before, or 2 days before, a week ahead before, and said, "I'm available. I can give you my second shooter." Second shooter typically are pretty good, but again, it's your confidence level, right? So if you're uncomfortable with that, then don't. But you've got to trust your photographer once you hired him, right? So those are, I wouldn't say red flag, but they are things that you have to keep an eye out.
Yeah, it sounds like a good way to be able to vet someone is for them to be able to show you the back end, just like how you kind of showed me, like, oh, this is all of the photos and the portfolios that I've had, so you can really see that. And if a wedding photographer has that, there shouldn't be a reason for them not to show you, right? There's no reason to like NDA it, like, oh, I can't show you this type of stuff, kind of confidential. Yeah. It's like, yeah, take a look, have at it. Just look at it, no problem. It shouldn't be a problem, right?
We do have a NDA on some customers, so we don't show those.
Okay.
However, most couples that we sign our regular package with, we do say that we will show your portfolio. However, it will be online or in person only, so the customers cannot download them or take them in any way or form, right? So it's just showing why we're doing this and the best shots out of it. And we show good and bad. Not bad, but just, there's some amazing shots for IG, award-winning photos, and there's some that are, okay, it's a regular wedding, right? Because not all wedding is going to be super amazing. And we admit to it, some weddings are better than others, but we still do a good job in the ones that are not as impressive. Right? It might not be because of the wedding. It might be because, some couple might spend $25,000 on one table and the decoration on it. And there are some that will spend $25 on it. There's a difference. But you would still shoot in the way that we embrace what they have.
Okay. Because you talked about IG a little bit, because there's obviously everyone wants to show the best part of their portfolio as a wedding photographer. Mm-hmm. But when I did my research, I just kind of looked around different wedding photographers, and all they do is they post their portfolio on IG, which is fair, it makes sense. But when you see the engagement on those photos, it's really not a lot. It's like, 3,000 followers, and you're like, 12 likes, 1 comment. I'm like, huh. Like, is IG even, like, obviously it's your portfolio, but does it even help grow social media? Like, is there even point to it? From your experience.
You are an expert in online social media, so I probably would ask you back that question. But if you ask me, I would say then you have to look at how much real customers are under their followers then, right? So because there's ways to get more likes or followers.
Obviously, easy. $5 here. Easy,
yeah.
Right.
I'd say if you were to look at the art, you want to see whether they're consistent, right? If their work is consistent, they're delivering. But if you see that there are certain photos that are amazing here, not so amazing here, it's all over the place, then that's a red flag too, right? Your question was, does it reflect, I guess, the quality when it has random numbers of likes, or does it help?
Because you see, like, there's so many people on the account, right? Because they have the follow, but the engagement is so low. It just means like people look at it, but they don't exactly engage with it. Not really. Like some people like it.
I'm lucky. We actually have couples that do continually like our products, but this is the nature of wedding. You get married once and you won't look at it again, or you don't need to.
Oh, that's true. You don't really like down memory lane once in a while.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that's unique to our industry.
That's interesting, because like I could answer that question if you asked it to me too, because when I did my research for all this, like in the few weeks, I already found out that there isn't really a named person who specifically does wedding photography per se. Obviously, you have your Peter McKinnons of the world, your Casey Neistats. Those are your big names. So these are people who are pumping out content for a year and a half, 2 years, and they're like high quality level content. Casey was like 500 days in a row. Peter McKinnon was one video every 3 days at high level production quality. So that's the people at that point. With wedding photography, it almost just feels like you guys don't have time to do the social media, to be like pumping out content just like that, because you're so busy doing your own content for your clients.
There are some that are that does that, but I don't follow them. I don't know how they can do it, but maybe they have companies to help them, right? I think I just started looking into putting up more reels, more highlights, because the engagements are different. But you're right, it's not it's not every day that we have the energy to finish edit and we go create content. Not like getting wet, but there are certain photographers that are very high class, very creative in a different way. There's an award site called Fearless Photographers. Have you heard of that?
Award site?
Yeah, award.
What is that? Is it like a daily hive kind of thing, but mainly for this wedding photography?
Yeah, it's called Fearless Photographers. It consists of photos around photographers around the world, and it kind of displays the most creative weddings, specific for weddings. And if you were to be online, check them out. They are some of those photographers there. I just admire their work so much. If you say that I'm in the top tier, they are way up there.
Is there a specific name that stands out to you, and a person's work that you admire, that you could, I like this person's stuff? Any name specifically come to your head, or not right now? You're just like, I like the style.
They're all amazing up there. I don't want to. Yeah, there's quite a bit, because there'll be a list of a lot of photographers that I admire. Each their own. Again, the work are very different, but they are very impressive. You would probably, if you like creative art, you go into that award, because there's years of awards in there. You would just spend hours and hours looking at the work and go, oh my God, that's how crazy that website is.
Okay, then for you, obviously, so you have like something to aspire to. You see these amazing, you could say artists, I would just call them artists at this point, artists with their creative process. I guess for you, what is kind of your next step? What's the next phase for you? Do you want to level up your game to the point where you're like these photographers on the Fearless Photographers? Do you want to scale your business? Do you want to grow your social media? Do you want like what's the next thing for you? You have so many balls you're juggling, literally. Like what's the end all be all for you? If there is one for you at the point.
I think I think we're at a point where I think I'm going to trim down the number of weddings I'm going to be able to do, because it does get physically draining. The knees, the arms, the back, they start get going.
But they're okay for now, right?
They're fine for now.
Okay.
But you see them, they're whoa.
Oh yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. I can crack a lot.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna go into half shoot and half teaching, course development, maybe mentor more photographers in that sense. So that's where the next direction is.
That's fantastic. Well, before I wrap this all up, Nick, do you have anything that you would love to be able to share with your audience, future audience, aspiring photographers, or people who are just looking to get married, any last words that you would love to be able to share with everyone?
Keep improving. Keep improving yourselves in a way that you want to be better than yesterday. Right? Your work, your expectation, just compare yourself to yesterday. Then you get better.
And just a side note, if you had one thing, just one thing, that if you could go back in time that you would change, is there anything that you would do differently?
No. I've had a really fun 13 years in wedding photography. And every day is a learning experience. Every day is fun, because you got to enjoy what you do, right? No, I wouldn't go back at all. This is really good for me.
Fantastic. Everybody, this was Nick Chow. I'll have his wedding link website somewhere down below where you can find him, his social media, everything. And if you have any questions, feel free in the comments down below to let us know. If you have any questions for Nick, please hit him up on his social media. I'll have everything down below for you able to reach out to him. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you until the next time. Bye-bye for now.